All right, hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Chris Nowaski here with Craig Epstein. Representing TKR in the live stream here. I know it was supposed to start at 6 o'clock, but then we got invited to Rutgers for the watch party, and then obviously got a late start trying to get everything set up once I got home. So obviously the big news of the night here is Rutgers, getting an NCAA tournament. Obviously, 11 seed. They're playing Notre Dame, also 11 seed in the first four game on Wednesday out in Dayton, Ohio. A huge, erupts of, celebration, emotions from the team, in the room at the Rutgers Center there. So everybody was super happy. I know Gio Baker kind of embraced Luke Nathan a little bit. He was obviously excited. I know he kept, I know Gio looked like he was shoving food down his face every 3 seconds. He was nervous. Everybody was
What did he
nervous.
have there? Did you see?
I saw some burgers, some mac and cheese. So I mean, it looked
Ooh,
good to be honest.
not
But
bad.
I wish I got a scoop of it. But
Any Jersey Mikes?
there's no Jersey Mike's, no Jersey
Oh.
Mike's. Missing opportunity there, I guess. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of boring. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, obviously the team didn't have to wait long. Their team got called, pretty early in the show. So I know everybody was happy about that. I know Ron Harper was saying about, he couldn't take the weight. Everyone was nervous. So, Pico was glad. See, Pico was glad to have the watch party. I know, he wished he did it last year. He wished he did it 2 years ago. But obviously with all the COVID stuff, they couldn't have that. But yeah, I mean, you were watching from afar, Craig. What are your overall thoughts about this Notre Dame matchup? And do you feel like Rutgers is in a good spot? And they are where they belong, I guess, in the first four.
Yeah, I mean, starting off the I kind of had the feeling of probably a lot of Rutgers fans that at least they got it out of the way early, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, if you were waiting until that last bracket, if Rutgers was in that Indiana Wyoming side of things, then there would have been that would have been a very stressful hour for a lot of fans out there. But
Yeah,
they got it over probably within the first 20 minutes, probably
yeah,
20 minutes, half
pretty
an
pretty
hour.
soon.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it was over. It was over quickly. And actually, they got an 11 seed. I was kind of expecting them to fall on that 12 line, but they ended up getting that 11 seed against obviously Notre Dame, and winner takes on Alabama. And honestly, the way I see it, I think Rutgers got what they deserved. I think all year long we kind of felt like that. Well, not all year long, but towards the latter half of towards the ending here,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of felt like this was a team that at least deserved a shot in Dayton. I felt like they had those just brutal, horrible losses early in the year to Lafayette. It
Mm-hmm.
was just the one name.
Sure.
That's the one thing now is that I guess that Lafayette. I mean, if Rutgers ended up missing the tournament, that would have been a loss that probably would have been remembered for a long, long time.
For sure.
But Rutgers survived it, and now the ghost, I guess the ghost of Lafayette is kind of been put on the back burner there.
Yeah.
So that's one
Yeah.
thing there. And yeah, and obviously the 4 game stretch against the 4 ranked teams, that's really what saved their season,
Mm-hmm.
because you look at that Q1 record, 6 Q1 wins. It was, I guess, from the selection committee's point of view,
Mm-hmm.
that was always going to be something that it would be hard to keep a team out like that has, just such high quality wins.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like I said, I think that's really what saved their season. And towards the end here, they stayed afloat. They had that 3 game losing streak, but then they ended the year strong against what now looks like a really, really quality win against Indiana, the way
For
they've been
sure.
playing as of late. And they survived against Penn State. And lo and behold, Rutgers is in Dayton. So after all this waiting and all this talking about are they in, are they out?
Mm-hmm.
NIT, Dayton, first 4, last 4. I don't even know. It's over now. Rutgers is in the tournament, and now like we've said before, destiny's in their hands. Go beat Notre Dame, and Rutgers will find themselves in the field of 64 against Alabama.
Sure. I mean, yeah, if you kind of look at, the bracket that's the post on NCAA.com, obviously they don't list the first four games. So technically Rutgers isn't in the bracket online here. So I was actually a little surprised that they didn't list the first four games. It's just like
Yeah.
a blank box. But yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean Rutgers, I think they obviously deserve to get in. Obviously the beginning of the season wasn't, kind to them. They really struggled. They even struggled, the first game of the season. They had to, come back and then beat, Lehigh in overtime. So I mean, they struggled really badly in November. December was kind of up and down. Then they had the COVID stretch. Then they came back from COVID and really played probably its second best stretch of basketball where they were sharing the game, had like 20 assists per game against like Maine, Central Connecticut. They beat Michigan for the first time, and then they fell off a little bit against who they put like Minnesota, Northwestern, stuff like that. And then obviously, like you mentioned, they got back, to winning against the really tough teams. And that was probably the turning point of the season against Michigan State. They blew out, and then they played Wisconsin, Ohio State, Illinois, and they played Purdue tough again. Who else? And then they played Wisconsin again. They lost. Michigan again. They lost. But they got back on the right side of things against Indiana. The Indiana, I think that one Indiana win also was very key for them because it was on the road. It was a Q1 win, and then you saw what Indiana did, in the Big Ten tournament. So, and then they, lost a buzzsaw. That was Iowa, the hottest team in the country, almost maybe in the country. I don't know, but at least the conference in Iowa. So, yeah, they're in Dayton. It's the only the second time Rutgers has ever made it in back-to-back seasons. It's only the first time they did that. Last time they did it was back in the 70s. The second time, in the second year of that two-year stretch, they went to the Final Four. I mean, I'm not saying Rutgers going to the Final Four, but kind of have to put that back in the mind. And even we saw last year, with UCLA was in the first four game, and they made it all the way to the Final Four, I think Final it was, Four, right?
And then they lost on that crazy buzzer beater to Gonzaga.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, actually, Ron Harper brought that up today in the interview. Maybe he'll have to text Miles and see Miles Johnson and see what UCLA did to kind of get their magic formula to make the run. So, I mean, Rutgers is in. All you can ask for is to be in the tournament. And now, they had the experience of being there last year. Obviously, completely different situations with, everything was in Indianapolis and, the COVID, there wasn't really any fans, anything like that. So obviously it'll be a lot different this time around, but obviously you got to be in to win it, and Rutgers is in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat now. I see some people. We got some questions here. If anybody has any questions, feel free to drop in the chat, and we'll do our very best to get to them. I see. How is Notre Dame's zone defense? And how's Notre Dame's zone defense?
Shout out to Richie for watching our stream.
Yeah, I think Richie's watching us right now at the airport. His flight is delayed till like next year, so he'll get back to New Jersey sometime in this lifetime. So Richie, we're thinking about you. Get home safe. But
it just snowed here again tonight, by the way. So have fun with that.
So yeah, Richie, get comfortable because I'm sure the weather in Miami is much better than the one in New Jersey right now.
Yeah.
But okay, Notre Dame zone defense. You got any thoughts on that, Chris?
I don't really have thoughts on that. To be honest, I haven't seen Notre Dame play this season. I know they do have a couple of Jersey guys, a couple guys in Rutgers, a couple guys on Notre Dame. Matt Zona is a Bergen Catholic guy. I know they ended up being. I think they actually, they finished second in the ACC in the standings. They kind of fell a little bit due to the poor, last couple of weeks of the season. I think they finished out 3-3. They were upset by Virginia Tech in the ACC tournament. Obviously, Virginia Tech went on to win the tournament, which is surprising there. I mean, ACC isn't really like the best, it isn't what it was, I guess you can say. But their stats, they have three guys in double figures. Blake Wesley, scores 14.7. Dane Goodwin, who was from Ohio, who Caleb McConnell knows, scores 14.6 points, and Paul Atkinson Jr. scores 12 points a game. Stats wise, team wise, Notre Dame averages 72 points a game and is really good defensively. Third in the league, averaging 68.8 per game, 66.8 per games on defense. So obviously a pretty well-rounded team. A really good coach. Rutgers used to play Notre Dame in the past in the Big East days. So obviously, tough matchup. Every game in the NCAA tournament is going to be tough. Good coaching in Matt Bray. So that's the quick rundown for Notre Dame there.
Yeah, I guess going the original question, zone defense. I'll be honest, I didn't watch much of Notre Dame basketball this year, so I don't know much about their zone defense. I would say that you better hope it's not good because zone defense seems to be Rutgers' kind of kryptonite when it comes to their offense. But Notre Dame, the little bit I do know about them is, like you said, that they had a kind of a hot start, but kind of cooled off towards the end. I think honestly, I think this is kind of a favorable matchup for Rutgers. I think on paper, Rutgers is the better team. Obviously, paper don't mean squat in
Sure.
the March Madness or college basketball in general, because you see so many crazy things happen. But I do think this is a very, very favorable matchup for Rutgers. I think it's one they can come away with the win. I think the thing that's working against them is this is probably going to be more of a road, more, even though it's in neutral, probably more of a road game for them. So I would expect probably more Notre Dame fans there than Rutgers fans
Makes sense.
taking the trip to Ohio. So, and as we've seen, Rutgers isn't exactly the best team in the world on the road. So that's one of the things kind of working against them. But I think from a game perspective, I think this is a good matchup for Rutgers. Like I said, I think they can beat Notre Dame. And if you look at, and if I saw Brad Wachtel, I think did a tremendous job covering this, everything from the bubble to the tournament, everything. I saw he put up the stats, basically the resumes of Notre Dame, what ended up being Notre Dame versus Texas A&M. And if you look at it on the surface, I kind of think that Texas A&M might have probably had the better resume. They had more quality wins, more Q1 wins. They had a better road neutral record. So I think Texas A&M probably had a better resume than Notre Dame. And you look at it, how it ended. Notre Dame's in the tournament. Texas A&M was one of the last four out. So it's a very crazy bubble that we saw. But like I said, I do think this is a pretty good matchup for Rutgers.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention too, that Rutgers is, the net rankings hasn't been around for too long. Only been around for a couple of years now. But Rutgers is now the lowest team, I believe, to make the tournament with the lowest net. So I think they were entered the day. I think this morning they were 77. So St. John's made it in 2019 at 73, I believe it was. Michigan State prior to that at 70, I want to say. So I mean, obviously, like we talked about before, that's kind of why they were kind of lower in terms of, the first four games, because the net, the NCAA uses the net as, a good, selecting tool, I guess you can say, metric. So let's go back to the questions here. So we got HJG again, saying, how did Oregon and St. John's do? Is that too soon? Yeah. So obviously I know who's referring to Jacob Young transferring to Oregon and Montez Mathis going to St. John's. Both those teams are not in the tournament. So little funny quip there. I'm sure they'll go to the NIT. I know Oregon I think Oregon had a pretty good season. I know they beat UCLA a couple of times, so obviously they're not a bad team. But
yeah, and I think that I think what this selection showed, I think we'll see if it stays this way. But I think the committee loves the Big Ten. You got nine Big Ten teams in, the most there are. You got two of them are last four in. You got, and a lot of them are pretty good ranked. Although we'll see what happens. I think Ohio State got a tough draw. They gotta play Loyola, which always seems to be a good tournurnament team.
Yeah,
but
didn't Ohio State lost to Oral Roberts last year, right? In the first
It's a good point. They lost to, they were the second seed, lost the 15th seed Oral Roberts, who went a little bit of a run, if I remember correctly. But honestly, yeah, like I said, I think the committee has shown that they definitely give the Big Ten ample opportunities to prove themselves in the tournament. Last year wasn't a great year for them, because we saw Oral Roberts get knocked out early. Illinois got knocked out early to Loyola.
Rutgers was like the team that like saved face for the conference, basically.
Pretty much. I mean, Rutgers was almost like, at one point, Rutgers was like the highest ranked team in that bracket.
They were 4 minutes away, man, of going to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, as the committee's shown, that seems like they kind of tell the Big Ten, here's your opportunity, go take it. And it was last year, same this year. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see if Bo Borowski is officiating in any Rutgers games. So let's see if any more questions.
Yeah, go back.
So Richie said that 75 and Sunny Baby, lots of our football recruiting nuggets coming soon. So there you go. You got something to look forward to on the football side. Not only you got spring practice, we got some big recruiting news coming. Another question. Can you explain the Michigan bye? Just didn't want 3 play-in teams, or really better than all the play-in fours? Yeah, I was a little surprised that Michigan did get the Let's see what that did. I think they're also an 11 seed. Wrong tab. I think they're also an 11 seed. They're playing Colorado State in the first round. So yeah, I'm a little surprised. Obviously Indiana beat them in the 8-9 game in the Big Ten tournament. I mean Michigan had a good year. Their net is probably a lot lower. Oh, that's not the right.
Yeah, just talking about Michigan. I mean, I would have been very surprised if they put 3 Big Ten teams in that Final Four.
Makes sense.
So I felt like that's kind of one of the reasons why a lot of Rutgers fans, I think, were going to this sweating, is because they weren't going to put. Chances are they weren't going to put 3 Big Ten teams in the Final Four, because obviously then they would have had to play each other, probably, and then that's just something that they don't like to do. So that's one of the reasons why, after Virginia Tech and Richmond kind of stole the bids, the seat got started to get even hotter for Rutgers coming down here. But as the committee showed, I mean, I wouldn't say Rutgers was safely in the tournament, but if a couple more moves happened, then Rutgers could have found their way out of it. But they did. But obviously the committee felt that Rutgers wins were good enough to warrant a spot into the tournament, and now they find themselves here. So it's kind of my feeling on it. And Michigan, when talking about Michigan, honestly, I kind of feel like Phil Martelli kind of saved their season a bit here, to be honest. If you think about it, that team was reeling before the whole Juwan Howard incident, and then he gets suspended, and Michigan beats Rutgers, and kind of stays afloat for a little bit longer, and now you see they're an 11 seed. To be honest, I'll be honest, not to try to tip my hand or anything like that, but I don't think I'm too high on this Michigan team going into the tournament. And if you were to tell me Colorado State knocks them out in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised.
I agree. Yeah, Michigan just looked up. Their net is at 34. They had 5 quad 1 wins. They were 3-0 against quad 4. Obviously, Rutgers had the loss there. 6-1 against quad 3 and 3-3 against quad 2. There were 5. They had 5 wins on the road, so that's probably another reason why they got the bye there. Indiana only had 3 wins on the road, and so or no, 6 technically, because they had 3 neutral wins also. I mean Rutgers only had 4 total road wins, so obviously keeps them down. But yeah, I mean, honestly, coming into the game, or coming into the day, we got to Rutgers, all their borders, and we were kind of talking to each other, and none of us were kind of confident that Rutgers was going to get in, especially with all the bid stealing throughout the weekend, especially Richmond, like you mentioned too recently too. So I don't know, I was kind of surprised. I mean, I guess I wasn't confident coming in. But at the same time, I guess the players, talking to the players, they were super nervous. Geo Baker said, all the people were trying to ask him, like, oh, do you guys know when? Or do you guys know if you're in or not? CBS coming to the watch party because they know that you guys are in. No, nobody knows. I mean, I saw a picture of the past where a team had CBS in the locker room, whatever, watching the watch party, and all you saw was completely dejected faces. They didn't get in, so. Obviously Rutgers got called pretty soon, so then have to sort it out too much. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't really confident just because of the bid stealing and the losses in the beginning of the season. How that would affect anything. Obviously the road wins were a factor. Ken Palm had them at 74 also. So yeah.
Yeah, same thing. I felt like after that Richmond game, I was starting to feel like, oh man, Rutgers might not be in this thing. Like it was real. Like we said the other day, I just felt like it was almost the unexpected. I really didn't know what to think. Like, yeah, Rutgers had all those quality wins, but they had those really bad losses too. And they didn't have a great performance in the Big Ten tournament. You got Indiana going on a run. Michigan, I kind of felt like was going to get in, even though, like we said, they weren't exactly the most impressive team in the kind of on the bubble, but I did feel like they were going to get in. So it was just kind of like we said, sweating time today. But Rutgers ended up getting on the Rutgers ended up getting on the right side of the bubble, and now you see teams. I guess if you look at it, those two bid stealers, Virginia Tech and Richmond, ended up knocking out Dayton, who was, I guess, the next.
Mm-hmm.
I saw they were the number one replacement team just in case
Yes,
the
they're the
team has to
first.
bow out with COVID. And then number 2 was Oklahoma. So I guess those are kind of the 2 spots that were stolen. And 3 was
You know
3
what?
was SMU.
I took a picture of the screen real quick. Let me
Yeah,
see.
3 was SMU. And then 4 was surprisingly was Texas A&M, which I'm kind of surprised that Texas A&M felt that wasn't as close as we kind of thought they were. I mean, I didn't watch much Texas A&M basketball this year, to be honest, but I kind of thought they were a fringe team. I saw a lot of people saying that they played their way into the tournament based on their SEC tournament run, and to see them as basically the last team of the last 4 out was kind of surprising to me. But I guess it's the way of the selection committee.
Yeah. So another comment here. Big Peter Quiche. I don't know.
Peter.
I don't know what that was. Big Peter Kiss shout out. So yeah, so Bryant and Peter Kiss transferred from Rutgers. They won their conference and they are in the NCAA tournament as a 16 seed, I want to say. 16 seed, they're playing so they're playing Wright State. Oh no, they're in the first 4 game also. They're playing Wright State. So yeah, I mean good for Pete Kiss, good for Bryant. I know I think he led the conference in scoring.
I think he led Division One scoring.
NCAA, right? Was he was he the NCAA score? Score?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, he didn't pan out at Rutgers. You know, he had some other stuff going on, I guess I can say. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, good for Pete Kiss to get in there. I think they play Arizona, or whoever wins that game plays Arizona. So I mean, probably chances are slim there. But
yeah, it's
obviously
be a
they're in the tournament. So
yeah, good for them, man.
Yeah. So looking at if Rutgers does beat Notre Dame on Wednesday night, I don't believe the time is set to my knowledge at this time. But they do play Notre Dame on Wednesday in Dayton. The winner obviously plays Alabama on Friday. Obviously don't know that time either, but that game is in San Diego. So you go from Dayton to San Diego. I was just in San Diego in December. So maybe we'll make another trip there. I know Craig and I plan to be in Dayton, so you'll have that to look forward to, all the coverage out there.
Yeah, and it's just funny how these things work out now. You got Rutgers playing the Fighting Irish on the eve of St. Patrick's Day. Could there be something there? I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe Notre Dame will have the luck of the Irish on their hands.
I guess Rutgers fans better hope not, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you know what? Let's go through the bracket a little bit.
Yeah.
Pull that up. Where's Rutgers? So we got Alabama, six seed Alabama. So they're in the West bracket. So the winner. That game is Friday. The winner of the first 4 game plays Alabama on Friday, and then the winner of that game on Sunday plays either 3rd seeded Texas Tech or 14 seeded Montana State. Obviously Texas State always has a pretty good defense to my knowledge. And then right below them is Michigan State Davidson, and then Duke and Cal State and Fullerton. So who knows? Maybe we'll see Rutgers playing Duke at some point.
Yeah, I was thinking
maybe Michigan State again, or not Michigan State. They play Duke. So
could you imagine Rutgers is the team that ends Mike Krzyzewski's career? How crazy would that be?
Honestly, I wouldn't. I'd be kind of happy about that. So,
it's fun to dream, right?
Who are some of your team? I know I'm sure you didn't fill out a bracket yet, but who are some teams you're looking at to maybe reach the Final Four or anything?
Just off the top of my head right now, I think I'll start with a little chalk. I guess Baylor always seems like a tough team. I think Baylor and Arizona are 2 teams that can definitely make championship runs.
Sure.
Gonzaga, same thing. Did I say Gonzaga? I don't know. It's Gonzaga. Yeah. Kansas, honestly, I feel like every year Kansas is ranked high and always ends up.
Kansas, they always get like the 1 seed, 2 seed, but they never really do much with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Kansas is probably going to lose a game that they shouldn't lose, and we'll be like, "How did that happen?" And we'll be like, "Because it happens every year."
Speaking of Kansas, our fellow night report writer Ryan Patty is a huge Kansas fan.
Sorry, Ryan. He's
So
also a
there you
Nets
go.
fan, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he roots for a good team during the regular season, but
Yeah, he's got Kansas and the Nets. He's doing fine.
there
Please.
you go.
But
So yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just want to bring that up.
no, you're good. But I think I'm just watching them today. Iowa, I think, is a team that can make a run. I think
Sure.
as long as they play, I mean, they've shown they've got a really good offense. You just got to kind of shore up their defense a little bit, and I think they're a team that can make a deep run in this thing.
Yeah, they're incredibly hot right now too. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, those honestly, those are just the top of my head teams right now. I think I'm almost more thinking about teams that are kind of might underperform. To be honest, I like. We'll see what happens with Illinois, man. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see, they're playing Chattanooga in the first round. I would probably expect them to win. I'll see what happens when it's time to fill out the bracket. But
Sure.
Illinois, I mean, they kind of got punched in the mouth a little bit against Indiana and didn't do a great job responding.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll see how could see how they do here. Like I said last year, I mean, obviously it's a different team, but last year they had that loss to Loyola. So yeah, they're just another team where a lot of the time feels like they should go on a deep run and they just don't. So we'll see what happens this year with Illinois. And
Sure.
if you have any thoughts, feel free.
Yeah, I watched Arizona play last night against UCLA. You know, Pac-12 after dark here on the East Coast, and I was really impressed with Arizona. I mean, Arizona was down by 12 at some point in the game, and they came back, and their defense was absolutely phenomenal. You know, down the stretch. So I'm big. You know, they're a very tall, big team. Obviously they had the postseason ban, so you know they're good. You know those guys are going to be hungry to get a run and everything like that. Let's see. I mean, honestly, I mean, I think I like Connecticut a little bit too. You know, they
Yeah,
have.
that's a good call.
I mean, I think Connecticut can make a run. I'm not confident in Duke, even though I'm sure a lot of guys are going to pick Duke, but I'm not confident in Duke.
Yeah, me neither.
Villanova, you can never count out. A Jay Ray coach team. You know, Mr. Calm, cool, collected there. So, who knows, man? I'm gonna say maybe Rutgers makes a deep run. I mean, you gotta be in to win it, like we said before. I mean, when they went to the tournament last year, they have the guys that start, the guys that come off. I guess mainly on the guys that start, obviously, or our veteran group. You know, they went to the tournament last year. Obviously, completely different circumstances, like we talked about earlier. But they went to the tournament last year. They nearly made the Sweet 16. They almost upset Houston. They probably should have upset Houston, obviously, which is why the guys came back. They wanted another crack at it. But who knows? Maybe Rutgers make a deep run there.
Yeah, from the Rutgers perspective, I mean, I think it's to be honest, it is a tough draw for Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, they've kind of cooled off in the second half of the year. If Rutgers beats Notre Dame, but
Sure.
if they face Alabama, they kind of cooled off the second half of the year. Still a very good team though. Got a very high ceiling, kind of similar to Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
When they're on, they're a very, very good team that can make a deep run, and when they're off, not good, and they typically lose. So Alabama, you never know there. Texas Tech being in that region, also that's a very good team, Chris. I mean, they always have a very good team, and like you said, a very good defense, which is very similar to Rutgers type of style of game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, but to be honest, I feel like this is Rutgers kind of got a little bit of what they deserved. They're in. They can be happy they're in. I think they deserved to be in. They deserve the Dayton game, but beggars can't be choosers. So it's good. They definitely have their work cut out for them if they want to make a deep run in things.
Yeah, I mean, looking ahead to Alabama too. I just took a quick peek. I know you don't want to get ahead of themselves, but they led the SEC with 80 points per game. Obviously that's not ideal in terms of Rutgers. Obviously they're not, the best, obviously scoring team in the country there is, but if Rutgers can make his free throws and play defense, I mean, you never know. They like to muck things up.
Because as we've seen, when Rutgers is on, they can pretty much beat anybody. So
sure. I mean, like we talked about earlier, honestly, we didn't see that big four game winning streak coming against all those ranked teams. I mean, they had just lost to Minnesota, Nebraska. They, had to come back against Nebraska. They lost to Northwestern. So, I mean, they really, really dominated Michigan State in that first game that started it.
Yeah, I remember they had started off pretty much crushed Michigan State and Illinois, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Illinois game until they made that late kind of comeback. Rutgers was kind of manhandling them.
Mhm.
Then there was obviously the big Ohio State game. I mean, looking back, I mean, that Caleb McConnell block might have saved their season.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, we were both there for that one. I still remember watching the replay with Geo Baker push Caleb, and he actually did get a pretty good extra jolt to get that block. So
yeah.
So Gio wants credit for the half a block there. Maybe he does get it, and when the season's over, he gets a little 0.5 in block. Obviously, I know that I'm kidding, but yeah.
Let's see. So back to the rack. It says, are you in the field? Prove that the old school bracketologists still have it over the young guys who think everything is about metrics. You got any response to that one?
I guess not really. I mean, I guess everyone has their own opinion. I mean, we saw the last month or even the last couple of days, there was brackets upon brackets. Everybody has their own opinions of things. Obviously, some teams had Rutgers in, some guys didn't have Rutgers in. I mean, no one really knows. I mean, at the end of the day, there are tons of analytic websites out there that really do a good job crunch the numbers. I mean, we know what Rutgers is good at. We know what the metrics say Rutgers are good at, what they're bad at. Obviously, their net had a good deal. Why they're in the position they are now in the first four. So maybe it's a little bit of both. I mean, it has to do with the eye test too. So,
yeah, I was going to say, yeah, in my opinion, and I feel like this way for a lot of sports, especially baseball, is that when it comes to analytics, they should kind of be used as kind of a backdrop, but not the entire reason why you make your decisions. Because as we see in baseball, a lot of people hate on it because, analytics are pretty much doing everything for the manager now. We feel like, at least, I mean, analytics, it feels like decides the lineup. It feels like the pitching decisions,
pitching changes. Yeah. Like, there's no like gut feeling anymore. It's like straight up computer. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But college basketball has, has the benefit that it's not analytics that decide the teams that get in. It's actually people. Remember in football, it used to be with the BCS, the computers would decide who the top two teams were. And that was your national championship. And that ended up being a big, people didn't like that. And then we switched to the Final Four format, which people still don't kind of like, but it's a little bit better. I think it's a little bit better than what we had, but but yeah, like I said, I think analytics should be used as kind of an assist, but it shouldn't be used as the entire reasoning behind something. Because if it was up to the analytics, Rutgers would not have been in, and it probably wouldn't have been close. Their net was 77, and which, like we said, is the highest net to ever make it in the tournament. But you have people making these decisions, and I do think those wins, those big wins, mean something. Those 6 Q1 wins, I think those are important because they show that you are a team capable of going on a run, beating good teams. And and I think when it comes to the eye test, I do think Rutgers passes the eye test, which I think, like I said, in baseball, that doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. But with college basketball, thankfully, it still seems to be a thing, and Rutgers is in. So it's kind of my feelings on it.
No, I think you're spot on. I'm with you. Rutgers. I mean, obviously the net now is used to kind of, it is designed to kind of help the selection process and to kind of, it really, it divides the teams into the 4 quads, depending how good they are. And so it is a tool to kind of see how good they are. Obviously Rutgers had, the only reason why their net was down because of the lawsuits talked about against Lafayette, which is, a lot of people have been talking about how Rutgers needs to, schedule, better teams next season, which I agree. And, the non-conference schedule was weak. And then, if it's weak, you can't lose to the teams like Lafayette and UMass, which they did. But if you schedule those teams, you have to win those by like a lot. I mean, you saw Iowa scheduled, a similar kind of non-conference, with the, lower tier teams, I guess you could say, but they blew them out. So their net was high or low, whatever you want to say, that low, high, I don't know. But I mean, that's why Rutgers was 77 high, I guess. All right, we'll say, I will say 77 is high. So.
But I agree. Yeah, exactly. I think there's pretty much benefit. As the season's shown, there's pretty much no benefit to scheduling like a Lafayette, because if you win, it's like, yeah, you're expected to win. You're expected to win by a lot,
Right.
and your net doesn't move that much.
Mm.
But if you lose, like we saw them do, it
Mm.
pretty much destroys your
Yeah,
net
the whole the
ranking. I
whole
mean,
the whole the whole season, Rutgers was trying to dig itself out of the hole.
yeah,
I know their first net I think was 217 because they had the losses to UMass, DePaul, Lafayette. They barely beat Lehigh, Merrimack, NGIT. They were down at halftime too. So
mm,
that's I mean, if you schedule those teams, you gotta you. I mean, their games are there to kind of help figure out the team, figure out roles and everything like that. But you got to win by a lot if you schedule those teams. I know I think it was last year before end up getting canceled or Rutgers backed out of it, but they were going to play Baylor in one of the the highly regarded preseason, not preseason, but
I
like
think it was
early
the Gavitt
the
games. I
Gavitt
think
games or early season
it
tournaments.
would have been
So
an MSG.
MSG, yeah. So I mean, maybe we'll see Rutgers schedule themselves in a tournament like that. I know Pikel. I know really Pikel likes scheduling the teams that they do schedule because the Big Ten gauntlet is such a grind. But like I said, if you're gonna schedule those teams, you have to win. You can't lose. So
Yeah, I understand. I do understand his point of view from it, where he says that basically the Big Ten schedules its own grind. But yeah, I do think that, and I mean the fact that now we have even more games. It used to not be as many games. Now it's like
mhm.
20 something game. Now it's like 20 games, 20 Big Ten games just makes life even harder. But like I said, I see it from his perspective. At the same time, there's really no benefit to scheduling against these just not these like a Lafayette because I mean, like I said, if you win, you're expected to win, and your net doesn't go anywhere. But if you lose, you're basically dig yourself in a hole that you got to spend the entire season trying to dig out of.
Mhm.
So it's just there's really no upside to playing a team like that. So
Right.
I do think it's something that Rutgers should probably reevaluate after this
Sure.
season.
Sure. Like you can play a team from Lafayette's conference, but play the team that finished first place or something, last season or a team that's expected to win, in the season that you're about to start. I mean, that only helps. I mean, like if you play a better team, your net won't drop that much because you played a good team. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, and I see a lot of people. I saw a lot of people on the board were talking about that Rider game,
yes,
and that
yeah,
would have been
like if they play that game, like it wouldn't have mattered
yeah.
really.
They don't.
Like,
Yeah,
you know what
they
I mean?
don't. They wouldn't have. It would
Unless
have
they
just
lost. Like, what if you lose that game? So
exactly. So it's like, yeah. I mean, yeah, they would have had probably 19 wins, but the beating Rider doesn't mean anything.
doesn't do
So
anything.
it
Like,
doesn't. It wouldn't have.
yeah,
What would they have been 76 today instead of 77? Like the beating
right.
Rider doesn't make any difference to their net. And
Mhm.
if they were to lose to Rider, they're done. I mean, they wouldn't be in the tournament today. So there was no benefit to that game looking back on it. So
Yeah, it goes back to the Penn State game, the regular season finale too. I mean, that game ended up being a quad 3 game at home because it was at home too, and Rutgers was up 15 points in the game. If they won by 15 points, I think their net would have went up, but because Penn State made the comeback and they won at the buzzer, basically, Penn State didn't make the shot. Rutgers net only, I think they dropped one. I think they actually like dropped one or stayed the same, something like that. But yeah, if Rutgers lost that Penn State game, then I don't know if Rutgers is in the
yeah,
tournament.
I don't think they would have been. To be
Yeah,
honest, they would have had to go on a run in the Big Ten
for
tournament
sure. Like
probably.
obviously they wouldn't have gotten the 4th seed, so they would have had more games. But yeah, I don't think they would have been in.
Yeah.
So no more questions or comments have come in so
If you
far.
guys got any so if you guys got any questions, yeah, definitely drop them in the chat. I guess we can talk a little
I'll
bit.
check. Let me check the forums.
Okay. And I guess we can talk a little bit about New Jersey teams. We got
True.
3 at Rutgers, Seton Hall, and why am I forgetting?
St. Peter's.
St. Peter's. That's it.
Yep.
So we got 3.
That's awesome. I mean, there actually almost was 4. If Princeton had won, if Princeton had won the Ivy League conference championship game.
Yeah. So
that's phenomenal. I mean, actually, both Seton Hall. I mean, Rutgers isn't there yet, but if Rutgers beats Notre Dame, then the both Seton Hall and Rutgers will both be in San Diego. So that's pretty.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They're not in the same like bracket, so they won't like match up against each other. But
yeah, they're in the same
it's good
region, not the same like yeah, they're in the same region. They're both in the West, but they're not in the same like I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Like there's,
I mean, they're not in the same region
oh,
actually.
not the same region, the same, I guess
They're just playing
location.
the game in the same location, I guess you could say.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
It's kind of weird how they did that because like I don't know. I don't know. I for some reason I pictured the tournament, all like the East Coast teams, like East region was like it's basically just for like the Final Four stuff or like the next weekend, not this weekend, but
and I always feel like they always put the East Coast teams in the West Coast, and then it's like, but then I look at the other region. I saw Wisconsin. Their first round game is in Milwaukee.
Oh, of
so
course.
they basically so that's basically a home game for them. So it's like how do they think? I'd be fascinated to know how they figure out like who goes where.
I mean, at least Rutgers men aren't like the women who always get shipped out to Spokane, Washington for all their games.
Yeah, they might as well like change their name to like the Spokane Scarlet Knights or something, right?
Yeah, they always end up being there. I mean, that team, that's another topic for another day, but that team's gonna go through a bunch of changes next year, most likely. So yeah, I didn't say anything else on the boards or the threads. So if you wanna maybe wrap this up soon.
Yeah, if anybody's got any last minute questions, drop them in the chat now. I guess we'll just talk. I guess talk a little bit. I mean, what was your experience? What was your experience? Just kind of being in the room with those guys.
Yeah, like I said, they were, so I mean, I got there around 5:00. We went into the room around 5:30 or so. We kind of sat in the back for a while, and then we went up to the front and took some videos, took some pictures. I didn't get a chance to post it, but Coach Peichel did talk to everybody in the room before the season. He had hoped that they got in. Obviously, they ended up getting in, but before the selection Sunday show. Yeah, I mean he was kind of confident. I mean, obviously you saw everyone's words after the loss against Iowa in the tournament, the Big Ten tournament. Ron Harper Jr. was like, if we don't get in, I don't know what to tell you. Geo Baker was confident too. They finished, fourth in the Big Ten, which doesn't really mean a whole lot to the selection committee. I know a couple of years ago, Nebraska finished fourth in the Big Ten. Obviously, did completely different resume. They didn't beat any of the teams that Rutgers beat. Obviously, this goes back to Rutgers having a really roller coaster of a season. I mean, they lost to the teams in the lower half of the Big Ten, and they beat the teams in the upper half of the Big Ten. And so, yeah. But I mean, the room. I mean, everybody. I mean, you could sense some nerves. I mean, they didn't. Nobody knew what was going to happen. Personally, I didn't know what was going to happen. Everybody was asking me the last like 2 weeks. I mean, I didn't know. So, I mean, obviously, they're all glad to have the watch party. I know they kind of asked one of the reporters asked the guys, what were their thoughts on having the watch party, and basically they just said Coach Peichel just threw it together and wanted to do it. So it was all Coach Peichel. So obviously they had some food. They were nervous. Everybody erupted in celebration. So it was good to see. I got that on video. You can check that out on the boards on our website. If you want to catch that. Then obviously we did some interviews after that. I posted Steve Peichel video, his comments, and Craig obviously will have more from the players.
Yeah, and I just see somebody I'd say a question about, we could probably talk about this a little bit too. Pike just signed a longer term contract. How do you think his recruiting changes, and what does next year's lineup look like? Good. Okay, I mean, I guess starting off with the contract extension, to be honest, I do feel like I think it's well deserved for Peichel, especially now you're getting into gearing up for the off season. The musical chairs, the music is probably going to be starting up soon, and you kind of want to get your guy locked in. So, I mean, you look at what Peichel's done here. It's just remarkable. 2 straight years in the tournament. First time they've done that since the 70s. Probably should be 3 straight years if not for that
exactly
the COVID, if not for COVID shutting down everything in 2020. So while this might not have been while Peichel said this was his best team, while this might not be, we'll still end up seeing if this is his best team ever. But while it might not be his best team ever, it's one of their best teams in the last probably 40 something years, considering they're playing in March Madness. So I think he's done a pretty good job here. And how do I think his recruiting changes? I would think he's probably gonna go for some bigger fish now. I mean, you look at him getting Cliff. Getting Cliff was I know a lot of this class is basically built off of the backs of guys like Gio, Ron, Caleb, who weren't sought after guys, which I think that's going to continue. He'll probably look for some more diamonds in the rough, like a Dean Reber. And if this
my guy.
Yeah, Dean, yeah. and if these guys have shown you anything, is that they do a pretty good job getting the most out of these type of guys. So I do think he's going to continue doing that. But at the same time, I think he'll probably make some runs at some bigger fish, like maybe a certain other Harper that's out there. I guess we'll see what happens there. But like I said, I think this contract extension is well deserved, and we'll see how it goes now. If Rutgers, if Peichel ends up finishing out this contract, he'll be the second longest tenured coach ever.
Mm-hmm.
And if he still wants it, if he still wants to keep going, it could potentially end up being the longest tenured coach ever. So it's a lot. Definitely a lot to see the future here with Peichel, and this does seem like a kind of destination job for him. I don't see. I mean, look what he's built here. Rutgers, the RAC, Jersey Mike's Arena, has become one of, if not the biggest home court advantage in the nation. And it wasn't like that before he got here. So him and the Gio and those guys have really built this thing up here. So I kind of think that Steve might end up building his own kind of kingdom here. I guess we'll see. But I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. So those people on the boards who aren't big fans of him, might have to get comfortable with him.
We've seen a lot of Pike sucks threads on the board lately.
Yeah, we've seen. Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of things said throughout the season that may or may not have been true. So, including me, I probably said some things throughout this year that I probably would look back on and be like, oh, well, I look stupid now. So, it's kind of the season
that kind of goes along with the article I said. Rutgers proved everyone wrong. So
yeah, I mean, I remember I wrote the Panic in Piscataway article after that Lafayette loss, and things did look bad after that loss. But credit to them for turning it around, and now we can sit here today talking about them being in the field of 68.
Yeah, before I tackle the last question, I did get a notification that Wednesday's game against Notre Dame is the second game of the night, so it's at around 9:10.
Get the coffee ready.
Get the coffee ready. I don't sleep. I'm usually up late and I don't sleep well anyway, so I'm game for it.
Yeah, same here.
And then they play that game's on True TV, which I knew the first 4 games were on True TV. And then they play the winner of that game plays Alabama on Friday at 4:15. So there you go. Those are the times that we know of so far.
Yeah, I mean, not ideal times, but welcome to March, I guess, and welcome to being the first, being that last 4 in. They're not gonna make it easy on you.
Sure. Yeah, Rutgers had a good time against Iowa. Good 2:00 start or so. But I know Rutgers is usually good for at least one super late.
By the way, I mean, 4:15 Friday. That I'm assuming that's West Coast. I'm assuming that's West Coast time, right?
I'm probably local Eastern time. It's probably East. It's probably
Okay. So it would be 1:15.
I think that's Eastern time. So that's 4:15 Eastern time. So
yeah, so it'd be 1:15 West Coast time. So it's even less time if you think about it. I guess.
It's in San Diego. True.
Yeah.
True.
So time zones always confuse me.
I just got an email, credential email, so that's good to sign. So yeah, let's go back to the question. I forget the question was. Hold on. Pike signed a longer term contract. Actually, Pike was asked about kind of how this helps the recruiting pitch. I mean, obviously making the tournament 3 times in a row, no, twice in a row. 3 times in quotes is obviously hasn't been done at Rutgers before. So obviously Peichel deserves a contract. He built, he took guys that were underrated. They all had a chip on their shoulder and helped build this program. They all play hard. They all play defense. If they don't play defense, they don't really, obviously play. So, a lot of other coaches always say that Rutgers plays harder than anybody else in the country. And, that's indicative of the coaching staff. They put together good game plans. I know we question the offense a little bit half the time, but obviously they're in the position during the tournament, so they're obviously doing something right. Obviously Geo Baker deserves a lot of credit for that. Ron Harper Jr. deserves a lot of credit for that. The guys that were here prior when they transferred, they all deserve some credit. They help build the program up. Obviously, having the cameras there kind of helps, and for the watch party helps too. It gets more eyes on Rutgers, and now really, Rutgers kind of has a little show to itself. Come Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, they'll be the only college basketball game playing. So, everyone's gonna watch that game. They'll see Rutgers. They see Rutgers. Obviously, playing in the tournament. It only helps them really. So, and then he also talks about next year's lineup. I guess we can talk about that after the season. I don't want to get into that now. It's gonna look a lot different than guys on the team now are gonna leave. They're gonna bring in a lot of transfers. So kind of little.
Here's the one thing I can guarantee you about next year's team: Steve Peichel will be the head coach.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. And they had to have a big hefty buyout from what I remember too. So
yeah, I think it's like 15 million.
15 mil, right? So I mean, Peichel said that. I remember his introductory press conference. I wasn't actually covering the team at that point, but he said he would walk the turnpike to get the job, or something like that, something along those lines. So, I mean, he wanted to be at Rutgers. He felt like Rutgers was one of the best jobs in the country. I mean, we obviously saw what Rutgers looked like under previous regimes. They weren't good. So, I mean, Peichel turned around quickly. 14 seed in the Big Ten the first couple years. 10, 8. Now they obviously had the 4 seed. So, back to NCAA tournament appearances. They won 20 games. What was that? Was it last year or 2 years ago? And they would have made the tournament too. So, yeah. So, I mean, obviously he deserves a lot of credit, and the contract is well deserved. Obviously a great guy. Also, he's a good guy to get to know too. So, yeah. So, I mean, yeah. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add. Almost an hour at this point. So
yeah. So I guess I think that kind of wraps things up. I mean, we talked about. Covered pretty much everything here. So
right after this, I'm gonna maybe figure out rental car information, hotel information, all that jazz. So
yeah, see if there's any. Is there any good restaurants in Dayton?
Any good restaurant? I guess we could have asked Caleb McConnell about the restaurant.
That's true. Yes. That's true. Any fine establishments? What are the local landmarks of Dayton, Ohio?
I know. I'm not getting pizza. I'll say that.
Nah, I mean, please. You're getting pizza. You're getting it here.
Exactly. Exactly. So again, you get pizza in Jersey. That's it. Maybe New York. I'll get a slice in New York while I'm there. But
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So all right. I mean, thanks everybody for joining. If you have any last minute questions, drop them within the next 10 seconds. Hopefully maybe you can type that fast. But yeah. So I mean, obviously Rutgers plays Notre Dame Wednesday night 9-10. Winner takes on Alabama from San Diego. San Diego was nice, by the way. Okay, so first off about San Diego, traffic everywhere. If you're, if you want to drive from somewhere else in California to get to San Diego, just fly. Don't do that. It's awful. I was there in December, and obviously, nice. Obviously, California is nice, but the traffic is pretty bad. So
just like here.
Just like it was honestly worse. It was worse. I mean, I don't know anything about Dayton. I know obviously 9-hour drive, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe we'll kill each other and we'll make it there. But
don't say
maybe we'll be on the news at some point. Yeah, we'll be on the Columbus News, Columbus Dispatch, front page or something. So all right. Thanks everybody for joining. This will be up for those who haven't seen it. It'll be up on YouTube, and then we'll post it obviously to the Night Report Facebook page, and then post it to the Night Report website. So we'll see you guys on Wednesday night. First 4 NCAA tournament. Rutgers against Notre Dame in the 11 seeds battle the 11 seeds, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody for joining. From Chris Novosky and Craig Epstein. Thanks.